When you think of a demon, what do you picture? Probably a red, horned creature with a pitchfork, right? Or maybe a fallen angel, cast out of heaven. But what if I told you that for most of human history, demons were neither of those things? The real story of our oldest fear is way more surprising and a lot weirder than you might think. To find it, we need to go way back, long before the Bible was written, to the chaotic world of ancient Mesopotamia. In the world of the Sumerians and Babylonians, demons weren't just purely evil. They were seen as chaotic forces of nature, restless spirits of the dead, or unpredictable beings from the underworld that could bring sickness and bad luck. They weren't soldiers in some great war against a single good god. They were just a terrifying fact of life, an explanation for why awful things happen in a harsh world. For example, let's look at two of the most famous Mesopotamian demons, Lamashtu and Pazuzu. Lamashtu was a horrifying figure, often shown with a lion's head, who was said to snatch and harm newborn babies. But then you have Pazuzu, a demon of the scorching desert wind that brought drought and famine. Despite his terrifying looks, people wore amulets with his face on them. Why? For protection, specifically to drive away the even more feared Lamashtu. This shows you something critical about early demons. They weren't black and white. You could use one evil to fight a greater one. These beings were born from primordial chaos, and their actions weren't about good versus evil, but about their own disruptive nature. So how did we get from those morally gray spirits to our idea of pure, concentrated evil? This is where things get really interesting. To get that answer, we have to travel to ancient Persia and the rise of Zoroastrianism, a faith that reimagined the entire universe as a giant battlefield. It's more accurately described as a dualistic religion, which presented a stark conflict between two opposing powers. On one side, you had Ahura Mazda, the supreme good creator. On the other, Angra Mainyu, also called Ahriman, who was the embodiment of darkness, lies, and destruction. All of a sudden, everything in the cosmos, including supernatural beings, was forced to pick a side. The demons, called Daivas, were no longer just random agents of chaos. They were now soldiers in Ahriman's army, personifying vices like greed and envy in a structured war against good. This was a revolutionary concept. Zoroastrianism was one of the first major belief systems to judge supernatural beings on their moral alignment, not just their power. This clear ethical line in the sand laid the foundation for how later Abrahamic religions would eventually come to see the forces of evil. The stage was now set for the demons we're more familiar with. During the Babylonian exile, Jewish thinkers came into direct contact with these Mesopotamian and Persian ideas. The concept of a single cosmic enemy of God began to take shape, and the old chaotic spirits were reinterpreted. The source of demonic evil was no longer just wild nature, but a willful rebellion against God. This idea absolutely explodes in texts written between the Old and New Testaments, especially in the famous Book of Enoch. In it, we find the story of the Watchers. These were a group of angels sent to watch over humanity, but they ended up lusting after human women and coming down to earth to have children with them. Their kids were the Nephilim, a race of violent giants who brought chaos to the world. According to one of the most influential passages in the Book of Enoch, when these giants were eventually destroyed in the Great Flood, their disembodied spirits were cursed to wander the earth as the demons that have plagued mankind ever since. Now, the origin of demons is tied directly to sin and divine punishment. It's not just about their chaotic nature anymore. It's about a moral fall from grace. This story, which blended the Persian idea of a spiritual war with a uniquely Jewish tale of angelic rebellion, became the primary blueprint for understanding demons in early Christianity. The idea of the demon didn't just appear out of nowhere, it evolved. It started with the faceless, amoral forces of nature in Mesopotamia, which were a way to make sense of a dangerous world. Then it was forged into a clear moral enemy in the dualistic world of Zoroastrianism, giving evil a purpose. And finally, it was transformed into the fallen angel of Abrahamic tradition, serving as a warning about sin and rebellion. Our fear of demons has never been about just one thing. It's a mirror reflecting our desperate attempts to understand chaos, our deep need for a moral compass, and our fascination with the consequences of defying the divine. That horned devil of pop culture? He's just the latest mask worn by a fear that has haunted the human imagination for thousands of years. This is obviously a huge and complicated topic, and we've really only scratched the surface. So I want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on where the concept of demons comes from? Share your ideas in the comments below, and let's keep the conversation going.